How successful do you feel?
I don't feel successful at all. I feel like a complete failure. I'm not comparing myself to the world, and so I think it's very easy to say you're doing well against the average man. I don't look at myself as someone who's made it.
Welcome to Made in Dubai. You might be surprised not to see Spencer Lodge here. Today, I'm taking his seat. I am a professional negotiator. My job is to ask difficult questions. We have this special episode where we will discover who Spencer Lodge truly is, his successes, but also the downfalls, his difficulties, the way he talks to himself. Welcome to his own show, Mr. Spencer Lodge. What is it about Dubai that you love?
It's just an easy place to live. This place is on the up and up. You felt this.
Do you think your dad is proud of you now?
Oh, I know my dad's not proud of me. He told me.
How did that make you feel?
Devastated.
Do you tell your daughters that you love them and you're proud of them?
Yep.
So you're ending the cycle that hurt you?
I tell my daughters that I love them. I tell them that I'm proud of them, and I want them to be really happy.
You also help a lot of people behind the scenes that nobody knows about.
Because I feel their pain and I want to try and help. I don't need publicity for that, and I don't need anyone's approval or respect or admiration for that. There was a time in my life where I'm pretty sure I felt invincible, but there was always, what's it all for, what's it all about type of questions I would ask myself along the way.
Spencer, here we are.
Hey, how are you?
I'm asking the questions, remember? Starting from now. Tell me, how does it feel to sit on that side of your table?
It's very strange. Initially you've got a different view, then you see there's more cameras looking at you, and then, I don't feel in control, which is something I like to be.
Mm-hmm. Have we discussed this before? Do you have any idea I'm going to ask you?
No.
How does that feel?
Yeah, I feel vulnerable.
All right.
But I'm excited as well, because I know that I trust you, so.
Wonderful. So obviously I've done my homework because you and I have been friends for many years, 7, 8 years. I know a lot of things about you. But I wanted to know, what does the audience know? So what comes up when we Google Spencer Lodge? What comes up when we ask ChatGPT, tell me about Spencer Lodge? Who is that man and what can I find out about him? So the public records talk all about your success story. How much money you've made, your net worth. You have several companies, you've launched several companies. You are a mentor and trusted advisor of many other millionaires and billionaires. You have 2 wonderful children. You are married. You live on this beautiful house on the Palm in Dubai. According to other people and the standards of success, you are massively successful. You made it. Tell me this, how successful do you feel?
I don't feel successful at all. I feel like a complete failure.
Complete failure.
Yep.
Somebody who's made tens of millions of dollars, who has it all, you feel like a failure. Tell me more about that.
I think it's very easy to measure yourself against other people. And, I have some enormously wealthy friends, and so it's easy to measure myself against that, or peers in various industries that I've been involved with. And you're surrounded by success. Here, there's a lot of wealth within my wife's family, and there's success there as well. So you see, it's easy to kind of like put it onto that and blame that creates the green-eyed monster, as I would say. Mm-hmm. But I just don't compare myself to any of those. I compare myself to my potential, and I feel like I haven't fulfilled it.
What is your potential?
Limitless. Way more than where I am.
So when would you feel successful then? Is it a number? Is it an achievement? Because if you compare to the world, you're more successful than 99% of the world.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing myself to the world, and so I think that's it's very easy to say you're doing well against the average man. Well, so that's not significant to me. What's significant to me is, am I doing well versus what I could be? And then also you have to remember, when you're inside my head, I've got all of the losses to calculate and account for. Right. And so I take all of those into consideration as well. I take into consideration the bad decisions as well as the good decisions. I take into consideration how, and it's not just business related. I look at, failed marriages. I look at, am I a good or a bad father? Could I have done more for certain things, people, situations? And so, yeah, I don't look at myself as someone who's made it.
And if we look back on all those failures, losses, etc., do you think you could ever feel successful then? Do you think you would ever feel like you made it? Because those losses will always be there.
I had kind of like a number in my mind that I wanted in a bank account.
Right.
And that number was like, that once I've got that number, I'll be okay, because I can do with that number a lot of good for others as well as be okay myself. I think years ago, I'd associate having that number with the things that I could do for me with that number.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've got older, all those things, or many of those things, just have no value at all to me. And the older I get, the less value anything of material value means to me.
Right.
So, but it's really cliche when you hear it, but a lot of people talk about being in service to others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the only way that I think I can feel fulfilled is by being in service of others, in whichever way that may be, because I get so much back from that. That's kind of like where happiness lives for me.
And I want to get into that more in detail, but I want to ask you this first. Are you proud of yourself?
No. Ashamed.
You feel ashamed of yourself? Tell me more.
For all of the reasons I've just mentioned.
You had one failed marriage, a few losses, and that makes you ashamed.
Yeah, ashamed.
What do you feel most ashamed about?
Probably the bad choices I made along the way. I look back at the decisions that I've made along the way, a lot of the decisions that were the bad ones anyway, and I look at them like they were howlers. Like real howlers. And I think I get reminded of those every day by myself. Mm-hmm. And so I wake up every day and I remember. So it's almost like I'm on a loop every day where I remember those bad decisions, and it just, I feel like an absolute idiot.
So you said failure, not proud of yourself, ashamed, and a failure, and an idiot. Those are some harsh words. And you remind yourself of that every single day.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I don't do it waking up saying, oh, do you know what? I need to remember all of those things. They just come into my head.
Every day they circle around and they remind you all the shit you've done.
Yeah.
What about all the successes? Do they come around as well? Do you feel grateful, happy, proud?
No.
None of it?
No.
Just the negative?
Yeah.
That must be a dark place to live in.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do against it? How do you fight back?
I try and manage it by pushing it down or pushing it out of the way. And one of the steps I take every day is to get up and do what everyone knows that I do, which is go to the gym at stupid o'clock, because it helps remove that stuff.
And hiking you do?
Yeah, that's once a week. But, every day getting up and doing some exercise that gets, I don't mean walking, I mean like really gets my heartbeat going, and it enables, when I finish my workout, I always feel good.
Right. Have you ever been into therapy?
Into what?
Therapy.
Therapy?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
For those thoughts.
I've tried different therapy at different times in my life with varying degrees of success.
So if there were forms of therapy out there that would help you get out of that dark way of thinking and look at life and look at yourself differently, would you do it? Would you consider it? Would you give it a real chance?
I'm going to be really sexist here.
Sure.
So please respect that I'm not trying to be rude to any woman. When women go and do that kind of stuff and they tell me it works, I think it's all right for them. But when men that are like me, that question more, that trust less, that don't believe in woo-woo,
mm-hmm.
if there's men that do it and get a result, then I'm far more inclined to try.
So if we can get a few men out here who've done some form of therapy and it works for them, you would be inclined to listen and give it a try?
As long as they weren't hippies and, people like me, business people like
Business
me.
people like you.
Yeah.
All right. Analytical, rational, who ask questions. If they've done it and it worked. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it. We need a few men, businessmen, successful businessmen who Spencer could look up to, who have done some form of therapy that helped to feel better and more proud with themselves. Because the way where I'm going with this is it sounds like the inner negotiations you have with yourself are so tough. The way you view yourself is so tough. The opinion you have about yourself and the way you judge yourself, it's just so tough. It feels like there is this inner bully every single day that at the same time is like an inner motivator, right? He's the one who pushes you to the gym because you don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So there's some form of benefit. We're not going to do therapy in this session, but I did analyze that this is something, and this is not obviously based on this session, but based on the years of friendship we've had. I, as a friend of yours, would love that bully to die. Like, enough. Enough bullshit, Spence. You know you've done amazing work, but there's nothing I can say to convince you because you don't see it that way. And I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to point out there's something that we need to work on, that you need to work on. So whenever you're ready, hon. Next question. Do you think there's a part of you that works so hard because you've come to a stage where financially you don't have to work? You've sent both your daughters to school, you live in a beautiful house, you have several properties, you don't have to work. And yet you wake up way too early, go to the gym and work your ass off every single day. Why? Is it the same bully? Why don't you say, you know what? I'm going to go sit on the beach. I'm going to travel the world. I'm just going to relax. I'm going to go play video games. I don't know.
I get incredible anxiety when I sit still.
Why is that?
I find it really hard to sit still at any time.
What happens when you sit still?
I get anxiety. I get uncomfortable.
What is that anxiety?
It's like if I listen to a podcast and I'm walking, I process so much more of it. If I listen to a podcast and I'm driving, I do the same. If I listen to a podcast and I'm sat on the sofa, nowhere near as much goes in. So moving helps me concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't often watch television. I'll watch the Formula One and a couple of other things, but I don't often watch television. I would rather be moving. And maybe I'm uncomfortable sitting around. I don't really know, but I'm not good at. Yeah, if she said to me, go and sit on the beach for a week, I went to the Seychelles once, and we arrived in the Seychelles, and it was a 4-day trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so I checked into the hotel, and I said to the lady, "What is there to do around here?" I said, "Can we rent a car? Let's go and explore the island." And she said, "Yeah, sure." So this rental car arrived, and the guy gave me the keys, and I'm like, "Can you give me some landmarks to go and see?" He went, "Well, yeah, there's a really nice fruit and veg market." I'm like, "Okay." He said, "There's the airport." And I was just like, "Right." And he's like, "There's not much else." He goes, "The idea is you chill out and relax. There's a couple of hikes you can go on." And I was like, "Yeah, but there must be other things to do." And he was like, "No." And we left the next day.
Oh my God, you were on the Seychelles and you left the next day.
I walked up and down that beach and I was bored out of my mind. Like out of my mind. So boredom really impacts me.
Do you think that's your ADHD side?
Yeah, absolutely. It could be that, yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, I just struggle to sit still. So when I'm up early in the morning and exercising, I don't have to exercise at 5. I can exercise at 6 and go to work, no problem. I could even probably exercise at 7 and get to the other. Well, I start work just after 7, but yeah, I could do that. But that means I'll have had to stay up later at night. And I don't see anything that happens in the world after 10 o'clock that's worth being up for. So to me, it seems a bit pointless. I'd rather be up for sunrise.
And what you do is you make little videos, you post it on Instagram, you inspire other people, and regularly you invite other people as well, right? You say anyone is free to come and train with me. You're welcome to come. How often did people come?
Okay, so I've been offering that. Something popped up on Facebook. I think I've been offering that now for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in 8 years, probably on one hand, the amount of people that have come. There was a lady supposed to come this week called Priya. She sent me a message. Can I come and train with you at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning? I'm like, you're very welcome to, Priya. I look forward to seeing you. Told the trainer, he set up for 2 sessions for one for each of us. Never showed up. I have people saying, I meant to come on this session. Oh, I'd love to come on this session. I'm like, you're welcome to. You're very welcome to. The gym is here. Here's the location.
And they don't go.
I'm there at 4:45. Don't shut up. There's a couple of people that do. Maria does, but most people don't.
Maria Consaisao, our mutual friend, she's also incredible, like you are, has all these success stories, 10 Guinness Book of Records, amazing woman. Do you think she feels successful?
No, she doesn't at all. No, I know she doesn't.
Do you think there is a sense of this desire to want to feel proud of yourself that is driving it? Because maybe through that, you're seeking your dad's approval, him being proud of you. Do you think your dad is proud of you now?
Oh, I know my dad's not proud of me. He told me.
He told you.
Well, he told me. Sorry, it's not fair. He said to me when I was with him the last time I visited. He said, I asked him, "Is there anything? Well, no. What's the proudest moment you had?" Okay, think about that. Just tell me what the moment you felt really proud of me.
Right.
And he was just like, "Good question." And I'm like,
And?
he said, "I can't think of anything."
Oh my God. How did that make you feel?
Devastated. Devastated. I mean, I was supposed to spend 2 days with him. I just got up and left. I wasn't rude or anything. I just said I need to go, and I left. And I messaged him. I said, "I can't believe you said that." And I went back to see him. And when I walked into the house, I brought the subject up, and he said, "Yeah, well, I couldn't think of anything."
Again.
And I said, "Well, can you think of something now?" He's like, "No."
Oh my goodness.
And
So
then later on that morning, he pulled me aside. He said, "I realised I was rude to do that, and I'm really sorry." So he acknowledged that what he'd said was wrong. Didn't come up bring anything to.
Oh my God. So you're in your 50s.
55, yeah.
55 years old, 2 beautiful daughters. You've launched several companies. You've made millions of dollars. You've helped so many countless others. And we're going to talk about that now. And your father can't say he's proud of you for one single thing. Do you think...
Oh, you know the story about my book?
Sorry?
Do you know the story about what happened with my dad and my book?
No, tell me.
So we were all around the dining table at my dad's house, my sisters, myself, my daughters. And I'd written a book a few years earlier, and my dad had never mentioned it. I sent him a copy. And as we were eating lunch, my dad said, "I read your book." I was like, "You're kidding." He said, "In fact, I read it twice." And I was like, "Man, I'm so happy you read my book. Thank you, Dad. That means the world to me that you read my book. Well, what did you think?" And literally around this dining table with everyone there, my dad went, "Plagiarism."
What? No, that was his word.
That was his word. And my sister Jade looked at him and said, "Do you even know what plagiarism is?" And he said, "Well, I've read that kind of stuff before." And Jade said, "Plagiarism is you've copied somebody."
Right.
Maybe he's talking about something that you've heard described differently before, but he hasn't copied anyone. Well, I don't know. And that was it. And so, but as I've got older, I forgive my dad, because my dad's 80 years old. My dad had a horrible childhood, like a childhood that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents were missionaries in the Second World War. My dad was born in Nigeria when my grandparents were literally in the bush as doctors, spreading the word of God. He lived for 10 years in the bush and then was sent back to boarding school in the UK as a 10-year-old. He went into boarding school with the youngest other child was 13, and it was up to 18-year-olds, and he was a 10-year-old.
Mm.
And my dad got sexually abused for years, and my grandparents didn't visit him for 2 years. So that was a tough situation for him to go through. I mean,
Right.
I can't imagine how tough that must have been. So, you know, it's very easy to judge people's right and wrong and their behaviour based upon what you would do.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't live his life.
Right.
I didn't live his life. And so whilst it hurts, of course it hurts, I forgive him because he doesn't know any better. You know, and people will say he talks really highly of me behind my back, which is interesting, isn't it? You know, Spencer this and Spencer that to his friends, but never to me.
Not to you, yeah.
And I don't know why that reason is, and I've tried to discuss it with him, but he's 80 years old now, and the last thing you want to do is create negative memories,
Right.
you know, because what happens if something happens? So I find forgiveness. I didn't forgive for a long time, but I do now.
Well, I think that's beautiful. And he going through all that type of pain, obviously as a protection mechanism, he probably closed off his heart and thought anything emotions related is scary, so we're just not going to go there.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And then he didn't give you what you needed, but you as a young boy did need affection, praise, etc., which you didn't get. Do you think you were able to give it to your daughters?
Well, it's such an interesting question, because when I got divorced, when my youngest was very young, when I got divorced, the most important thing for me was to have joint custody. I wanted those kids to be exposed to me, and I was going backwards and forwards to Amsterdam, between London and Amsterdam, and I was seeing them every weekend, and they were just with me every weekend. And I have my way of parenting, and my ex-wife, their mother, has her way of parenting, and those two worlds collided. But I was battling to make it my way, but not really acknowledging that she had 5 days, so she had 70% of their time or 80% of their time, and I had 20% of their time. And my ways are never going to be the right ways. And I didn't agree with her ways of parenting.
What was the difference?
Very relaxed rather than structured.
Yours being structured.
Yeah. But hers with lots of love no matter what. And mine kind of, like, I think, was reward based. You know, work hard, you know, because I wanted the kids to become somebody. And I noticed if you look at families that have really successful kids, they've been really driven by the parents, really pushed. And a lot of people won't agree with that. Kids should be kids. They're adults for long enough. But I really believe that if you want your kids to go and have great success, you have to push them. Look at every single successful sportsman.
Right.
Look at everyone who's successful in acting. It's like no kid fell into something and got lucky unless they were beautiful or whatever it may be. Most of the successful people have had to really graft. And if you want to become a star at anything, as a child, you have to learn the discipline and the rules to becoming successful, and then you have to deploy them in later life as well. And different people will have different opinions, and so I respect that, but that's my opinion.
Well, you've achieved all this success and you still don't consider yourself successful. Do you think your daughters are successful?
I think at 23 years old, my youngest is still trying to find and define herself. I think my eldest is getting somewhere now, and watching that unfold. It's
Are you proud of them?
really quite special. I'm very proud of them for both, because they're both very kind human beings. I'm very proud that they're both really funny. I mean, we literally falling about laughing this morning because Taylor, my eldest, my mother's having an operation. So last night I was saying, you know, Nana's having an operation. She's like, I know. She tells me before she tells you. And I'm like, no, she doesn't tell you. I'm her son and you're her granddaughter. She goes, yes, but Dad, I'm the favourite. So I know before you. And then she said, by the way, I have to go because Nana's messaging me right now. And I'm like, how do you know? She goes, well, I can see the dots on WhatsApp. I said, well, I have to go because Nana's on the other line waiting. And she's like, ah. And we have this competition over what's going on with my mum. But she's very competitive. She's very driven. She's way more like me than her mum. And my youngest is way more like her mum than she is like me. Obviously, I want my youngest to find her spark and fire up and take on the world. And I really don't like the kind of the antiquated behaviour of women about being kept by men for my daughters. I never want my daughters to ever have to rely on a man apart from me. I want my daughters to, if there's any man you rely on me, and that's it. I don't want them ever being in a situation where they could become imprisoned in a marriage.
Right.
Because I think I look at women today, and we live here in Dubai, and there's just too many women walking around expecting to be kept by a man and to be like some piece of jewelry that a man has on his wrist. I don't look at women like that as particularly inspirational. I would regard them as high class, some things or others.
Well, we can tell your woman, your wife, she didn't marry you for your money.
No,
because she had her own money and probably more than you do.
Yeah, much more.
Do you consider her being dependent on you?
Well, again, who's the man in her life she relied on? The one person I want my daughters to rely on, that's me.
Her father.
And so that's as I see it, her father has always been that man that will be there for her no matter what. And I love that.
Right.
But I don't like people that want to be kept and sit there and to have material things purchased for them just because they want those things. I just find it quite repugnant.
Do you tell your daughters that you love them and you're proud of them?
Yep.
So you're ending the cycle that hurt you?
I tell my daughters that I love them. I tell them that I'm proud of them. I write on their posts, to remind them so they stay there on their social media posts. And every time they do something good, they'll probably tell you I don't as often as I could.
We all see it.
But I just want them to, whatever they want to be, I don't care if they want to be the best window cleaner in the world. I don't care if they want to be the best charity worker in the world. I really don't care.
Right.
I just want them to be the best at what they're going to be at, the best they could possibly be. And I want them to be number two, really happy. They're the two things that matter.
So you're giving them something you never got, which we can add to the list of success, Mr. Lodge, but I will let your therapists deal with that.
You got to find me some people that have had the therapy first.
Absolutely, but we're going to find that through this podcast. The men out there who are listening, they know. Reach out to the podcast, people. All right. I want to talk a minute about how you and I met. So we met at a speakers event, remember? And then there were many speakers that day on stage, and I went on their social media profiles to see who is this person. And the only person I wanted to talk to was you. And the reason was because back then on LinkedIn, you had written about some form of charity you had done for special needs children. And as most people know, I have a son with special needs. So that truly touched me. And I thought, oh, this must be a kind person. I want to learn more about him. And that's how we started to talk. And then we had an amazing connection. That's how we became friends. What most people don't know is that you grew up with a special needs sister, Jade, who you just talked about.
Jade's not
another Louise. So Louise has special needs. You've rarely shared this online. You can't find it. Can you please tell us more about Louise?
So Louise is my older sister. She's 3 years older than me. When I was younger, she went to a special needs school. She had Asperger's, had been diagnosed with Asperger's. And Louise was always very uncomfortable in crowds. She would always carry around 2 or 3 plastic shopping bags everywhere we went.
Right.
It's because she needed things with her.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were sitting talking to her one-to-one, you could have a conversation with her. But you put you and 2 other people, and she can't process that. Mm. She struggles with everything, but she finds her kind of solace. Her dog was her friend for a long time. Her husband died when he was 47 from septicemia. And she also had 3 kids, of which one was taken into care. So she had my niece, Tara, who was her first child. And so Tara was, when Louise was 18, she got pregnant by a boy and she had a daughter, Tara. Then she had a son, Michael, and then a son, Luke. But when she had the son, Michael, she was washing him in the bath one night and he slipped over and he broke his ankle. And the social workers thought there was something more to it and took him into foster care. And every one of us tried to adopt him. Myself, my mum, my aunts and uncles, everyone in the family tried to adopt him so that we could keep him in the family. And the social services wouldn't allow us to do it. And she lost him. He went off and was fostered and then adopted to another family. And obviously that broke her heart. And so she had to live with the torment of that, with the challenges she had. Plus, her husband had issues as well that had crippled him for most of his life psychologically. And she had Luke, and Luke is the the only one that's kind of really in touch with her now. He sees her a lot, whereas she for whatever reason the relationships didn't work out with others.
Wow.
She's difficult, but she doesn't mean to be.
How is she doing now?
And she wouldn't hurt a fly, Louise. Well, Louise is one of these people that she'll contact you and go, hello. And I'll be like, and like, you've not spoken for ages. Hello. I was just thinking, how do you pay the gas bill? The police stopped me today and they said I've had no insurance for 2 years. That can't be right. And I'm like, what? She runs up bills because she doesn't know how to pay them until the bailiffs come knocking on the door.
Right.
And then she'll, contact my mum or my dad and they'll be like having to bail her out. She has the messiest house in the world, yet she works as a part-time cleaner, which is quite funny. And she's been someone that I think I grew up a lot like an only child.
What do you mean?
Because her and I didn't spend any time together, really. I'd be this, well, you can imagine what I was like as a kid, bouncing around like Zebedee, full of energy, full of noise, full of chaos. And then she would be the one sat quietly in the corner. And I was the one that was demanding attention as a kid, I'm sure. And she was the one that was sat in the corner. And so we didn't really get on. We went to different schools. My mum would tell you, around the door frame of her bedroom door is the wooden kind of like beading, whatever it's called, architrave that goes around the door. And then behind that is obviously the plasterboard. And all of the plasterboard around her bedroom door was crumbling because of the amount of time she threw me out of her bedroom and slammed the door. And she would say, O-U-T spells out. And she was. I remember I became an uncle when she was 18 and had Tara. That meant I was 15, so I became an uncle at 15. Right. And then bizarrely, Tara, my niece, then became pregnant when she was 18.
Oh.
And so I became a great uncle when I was 33, which was kind of weird. But I think it was really hard on my mum because my mum was bringing up Louise and all the challenges that went there. And my mum and dad had got divorced when I was 7 and my dad had gone bankrupt. And so everything was lost. And so when you grow up in an environment like that, you kind of, and there were some things that are important to you as a kid. And I'll never forget these things. My dad went overseas to work in the oil industry, and there were, as much as I saw as much of them as I could, things that mattered to a boy. Your dad coming to watch you play football, your dad coming to watch you play rugby or cricket. My dad was hardly ever there, and my mum occasionally, but not very much either, because she had loads of stuff to be doing. She was trying to keep us going. She had lots of work, lots of jobs to keep us going, and so those things, I always felt like I was alone in that part of my life. I didn't feel like I had many friends when I was young and at school, and obviously there's the famous story around the bullies and whatnot. But yeah, it was kind of a lonely existence. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere when I was young, either at home or out in my own kind of like environment.
Do you do now?
No. I said, there's one place I do belong, and it's
mountains.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it does to me, but when I'm in the mountains, whether I'm alone or if I'm with 100 people, I feel safe. I feel happy. It does something to me. I don't know what it is, but it does something to me, And I've climbed a lot of mountains and I've gone a lot of hikes, and people think, that's your hobby and you're really interested. I was talking to my friend Paul about this the other day. I went to his house for a barbecue, and his name's Paul Smith. And Paul's 48. You know Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was just sat with him talking, and I'm like, why do you come? He said, why do you come? I said, because I need it. He said, me too.
Yeah.
And that was, he's got a family and a life and everything else that's completely different to mine. But it was just like, I need this. This is like some form of fix.
Yeah, and I can confirm. I mean, you and I have been hiking so many times. I see you in the mountains. You seem very happy, and you say you feel safe, although you go to all these crazy, dangerous ones. I don't feel safe there at all. It's super suicidal to me, but you go and you enjoy. So that's beautiful.
But I wasn't one of these kids that ever. I remember going to my nan and granddad's house. They had a big house, and we would go to their house, and my cousins would come. And I had a cousin called Steve and a cousin called Paul, who were the same age as me. And like at Christmas or when there was a family get together, we'd all have our football team football shirts on. So one was one team, one was another, and then we'd have football and we'd go and play in the garden. And that was my family. And so those were, I can picture them right now. I can picture those moments right now. I had a cousin called Cara who felt more like a sister to me than anybody else, who I still deeply adore, and who, yeah, good girl.
Was there anything there you wanted to share?
No,
You don't want to talk about it, or there's nothing.
Yeah, she's a good human.
Good human. Cara, shout out to you.
Cara, yeah, she's a good girl.
All right.
She won't listen to this. Cara will be like, oh, those podcasts go on way too long to sit and listen to all of them. I could do 15 minutes, Ben. I love you.
Well, I would agree with Cara though. I never listen to podcasts I'm on or any other podcast really. I'm not really a podcast person, so I can relate to what she's saying. Listen, you said you were your dad went bankrupt, your parents divorced. You did not grow up in fame and fortune, did you?
No.
You
no,
truly
no.
made your money yourself. How did you do it? How
I-
does one go from growing up without money and without education, right? It's not like you've been to the best business schools in the world, I've done an MBA, etc. Without money from your parents, without education, let's say to the highest level, you've made it to this decamillionaire that you are, and CEO and founder of several companies and an investor and a mentor. How did you do it?
I'll lean into a conversation I had a couple of years ago with a guy called Steve Corrin, who I've known about 20 years, and he was the CEO of Emirates MBD Asset Management, a good friend of mine. And he said to me, what makes a great salesman? And I went into it, they have, they ask great questions, they are charismatic, blah, blah, blah. I went into all this kind of stuff. And he just looked at me and went, no. He said, the best salespeople in the world, if you watch them, they have systems and processes. They may not be the best closers or the best rapport builders, but they have systems and processes they stick to that work. And he's right, because if you go back to my journey of creating some form of success, it was all about being in an industry where I could control my income. So I remember the very first kind of like tap into any form of work was Herbalife.
Right.
Do you remember
I remember
Herbalife?
that.
And so I went to this presentation for Herbalife, and they said, you got to buy this kit. And I didn't really understand what it was. You buy this kit and then you go out and you create this downline and it's yada, yada, yada. And it was like, so I bought the kit, didn't do anything with it. I spent whatever the 86 quid or whatever it cost back then, all those years ago. Didn't do anything with it, but it was like, okay, so you're trying to get me to get other people to buy this stuff. What does that mean? And then I eventually ended up, because my mum had a recruitment consultancy, I worked at a recruitment consultancy, and I got a job interview at a photocopier sales company in the City of London. And I went for an interview, and as you're holding that there, let me just steal that from you. The guy said to me, sell me this pen.
Classic.
Classic. And I didn't know how to sell anything. And so I just said to him, I said, can you just write my name properly? Because you've written it incorrectly on that paper. Can you write it properly? And he went, well, give me the pen. I said, 20 quid. And that was all I said. And he laughed like you did. And he went, right, you got the job. And that was it. And then I went on a training course and I learned how to sell. And I learned how to deal with rejection. And that was probably the most powerful lesson. I've told that story 1,000 times because it was so important as a lesson for me to learn how to understand rejection and allow rejection to be something that could be used as a tool for success. And so those 2 years of learning, and bear in mind, I'm literally in the city of London, not London, the financial square mile, and one postcode. So there's 4 postcodes. I've got a quarter of the square mile is my patch where I can do business. And so it was a really tight, between that here where we are now and the end of the street is further. Okay, so this road is longer than my patch, and so I had to work really hard every day and learn and face rejection and be out there in the cold and the rain and everything else. But it taught me how to prospect.
Right.
And when I was taught how to prospect, it's like one of the most important skills anybody could have in any form of business. Any entrepreneur on the planet needs to know how to prospect. Now, okay, this was 1988.
Mm-hmm.
I was 18 years old. There's no internet. Phones weren't mobile; they were attached to the floor, and so it was a different world. But that's that you use the tools you had at your disposal at the time, and so I think that because I was being taught how to sell, and then I was selling something B2B to companies, which cost a lot of money. Okay, these transactions. I mean, these machines were like back then £30,000, which today would be £90,000 for a machine. That, and I remember when colour copiers were invented. I was around when the first Canon colour copier came in, and it was like, wow, holy macaroni. And I remember when the first plain paper fax came in, so we didn't have to use those thermal rolls. And that was a little world I lived in at the time. But I remember going into the office on the first day, and there was a sales board, and there was 20,000. And I looked at it, and I'm like, that man's earned £20,000 this year. And I looked at the guy that was training me. His name's David Schillingus. I'm like, David, look, he's earned £20,000. How cool is that? He went, no, that's what he's earned this week. And I was like, what do you mean this week? Well, that's what he just did a deal. He's just, I was supposed to put it on the board. And I was like, you're kidding me. And in that moment, I knew I was in a place that was going to be able to, my ambitions were going to be able to be achieved and realized. And so, yeah, that's really the beginnings of my journey of making money. And I've made more mistakes with money than you can throw a stick at, but I know I can always make it. And that's probably worked against me in some of the decisions I made along the way, because I knew I could always make it.
You would take risks?
Yeah, I would take risks because I can always make money.
Right. Because you faced the rejection over and over again, so you're not afraid of that. I mean, obviously, as a negotiator, I can totally confirm that, right? The main reason why people don't try to get what they need because they're afraid of rejection in some shape or form. In the end, it's fear of rejection that's holding people back.
Oh, most people, I couldn't agree with you more. For me, rejection is just like, I love the sentence, how arrogant must you be to think that everyone's going to say yes to you?
Ooh, I like that one.
Because you go and make friends with 100 people. There's going to be some in there that you're like, do you know what? You're my person, I get you and you get me. Then there'll be people that are quite nice and you don't mind. And then there'll be people that are just, to you, they're misfits.
Right.
For whatever reason. And they're not your people. Now, the ones that are nice might become in time more of your people. But you sometimes just meet people and you know that, I think that's the same as selling. Sometimes you just meet people and you're with them and you both know something good's going to come from it. You just feel it. And it's like you're listening, they're listening, you're talking, they're listening, so on and so forth. And it's like, no, the decision's already been made that we'll work together. How that might be, we don't know right now, but the decision's already made. And so when you know those types of people, and you're confident enough to believe there are more of those types of people, then you don't mind the ones that are the rejections,
Most people do, though. So what's your advice?
People are, well, that's the same as worrying about what everyone thinks, and don't make any content on social media because the fear of being judged. Okay, folks, let's talk about real estate. Now, a recent partnership that we've just established on the podcast is with AYS Developers. Luxury properties with high-end finishes from people that really understand the subject. Often in Dubai, you'll find stuff that is maybe substandard. with AYS developers, you're not going to see that. You're going to see fantastic properties that you can buy, you can invest in, you can make your home on Dubai Islands and other places too. So go visit aysdevelopers.ae and check them out. I promise you it'll be worth the trip.
Fear of rejection, fear of betrayal, fear of abandonment. Those are the fears that drive most decisions for most people. So if you get back to rejection, is there a form of tips or advice you can give people? Most people, again, are struggling with this, right? They're afraid of what people think of them. They're afraid of hearing no. They're afraid of disturbing. Oh my God, I'm not going to call them. What if? Well, how do you recommend those people to get over that? How do you get
I've
over
tried
that?
to teach it for a long time, and it's really hard to
How
teach
do you
it.
teach that?
Yeah, so for a long time I've taught, but I look at it like this.
Do you think it's a numbers game? You just have to get out there and get rejected X number of times.
The way I was
get
taught,
used to it.
the way I was taught was go and make 100 cold calls and get 100 no's, and then do it again, and then do it again. 4 days of getting people to say no. Now, in those 100 calls each day, there were some people going, well, that's quite interesting, and I'll be going, yeah, not for you today though. I'd be talking them out of it. Even though they're interested. Yeah. Oh, well, actually, call me on Friday because I'll be in the office and you can come and see me. Oh, well, maybe I'll send you a brochure instead, and you can think about it.
You were chasing the nose.
I was chasing the nose. I had to get 100 no's. You don't really want this. And so, you imagine that. But if everybody was taught the way I was taught, if everybody was taught that, then you wouldn't.
It's genius.
And then he said to me after 4 or 5 days, and I'll never forget, it was David Schillingus. He said to me, get me one yes, but don't you dare get me it before you get the 99 no's. I need the 99 no's first. And so, okay, boss, I'll get the 99 no's. Don't worry, I won't let you down. And it was the 99 no's that was being celebrated, not the one yes. I need the nose, Ben. Get me the nose. Then, a few days later, it was 98.
Wow.
Then it was 97. Then it was 96 until it eventually got to 90 and 10. When it got to 90 and 10, he said, now look at the stats you have there. Look at the odds. Every 10 phone calls you make, someone's having a meeting with you. He said, and if you never change that, you'll always do well. And I was like, what? It's as easy as that? Because of how it was taught to me over that month. And I'm like, it's as easy as that. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, this job's a walk in the park. And that's how it felt to me at the time. And so that's where that whole basic structure came from. Now when I got into financial services and I learned financial services, I learned a different process because it was B2C as opposed to B2B. And I was taught this more. And when I was taught it, I promise you, I thought it was genius.
Tell me more.
I thought I'd learned how to sell, but oh my God, this was a whole nother level. But again, it was a system and a process that was taught to me. And I was taught these 4 gears of this sales process. The first gear is X, the second gear is Y. These are the steps of the sales process. This is what you do here. This is how you do it, exactly how you do it. Okay. The verbal and non-verbal. Okay. The behaviors all the way through it. This is the second part. This is the third part. These are the rules. Explain to people that if they're going to work with you, you're not a beggar. These are the rules. This is how we work. Make sure they're clear on that. Don't be ashamed of that. Be brave and be bold and say to people, I can't work with you unless you accept my rules. And all those kind of steps. And once I learned these steps, I was like, honestly, I did a training course for a week. And I came off that course and I was like, holy macaroni. And I remember I moved to the Far East and one of the first deals, well, my boss said to me, he said, look, I'm 23. And my boss says to me, what middle-aged man in their right mind is going to trust you with their savings? You don't know anything. You've been reading The Sun. You don't even know where the funds are in the Financial Times.
Right.
And so he sent me away. He said, look, you're as a kid, I can see you've got talent. He said, but no one's going to trust you unless you really know your subject. So we're gonna literally learn this like crazy. And so they taught me everything about the financial markets intently. And then within 3 months, I could read the Financial Times from front to back and describe it. I could read The Economist and know what was going on. If the facts came through from Fidelity telling us how the market's closed, I knew. And you got a financial background like I have. And so all this kind of stuff became my world and my language. And then they got very passionate about teaching me that most people are going to F up their money So you have to stop them. You're the person to stop this happening. So you have to be on a mission
So you
to
felt
save.
responsible.
You have to save people from themselves. And so I got in my head, there was a crisis out there. Most people are going to retire without enough money. And it's like, I need to stop that. Most people want their kids to go to university, but aren't going to plan for it. I need to stop that. Most people leave their money in the bank and it's sitting at 2 or 3%. I need to stop that. And it was like, I became really entrenched in a belief system is you go and live and work overseas as an expat for what? So that you can have financial security sooner rather than later. Well, I've got to stop people wasting their money. And so I got really into that in my world, I was really passionate about it and also passionate about teaching people to do the same thing. And I remember so clearly, I went to live in the Far East and I was on commission only and I had no money. I had a Visa card and a MasterCard with £1,500 on each. I'd got to the Far East and I had these two cards. And at the end of the month, I'd paid for the hotel, I'd paid for everything, and I'd literally done the £3,000. And my mum sent me a fax with the statements on because they were being sent home to England. She sent me a fax. She goes, these statements have just come through. What do you want me to do? And then she said, call me. So I called her. She went, oh my God, you can't pay from there, can you? You're overseas. Do you want me to pay it? And when you come home in the summer, you can square up with me. And I went, yeah. And I was like, yeah. You do that. And she paid those statements off. And I had another £3,000. And I was like, oh, I could last longer.
That was easy.
And then I remember I got a paycheck of the following month, about £4,000. And then the next month I got one of £5,000. And then the next month I got one of something like £5,000. And then I got this transfer into my account from the company of £28,000.
On commission.
And my mum used to look after my money. And so my mum sent me a fax. She said, you got this, your company's made a mistake and sent you some money, Sven. Okay, do the right thing, call them up, ask them to tell them it out and we'll send the money back to them and apologise that, you took longer than you should have done to call them. And I'm like, I'm not calling them. If they're going to send me the money, that's up to them to come it back.
Was it a mistake?
So my mum said, you will call them or we'll fall out. So I was like, oh, all right then. So I called them. I said, I think you made a mistake and put the money in my account. It's probably supposed to be for somebody else and not me. And the lady, I don't know what her name was, but she went, no, Spencer, that's yours. That's your bonus check for the first quarter. And I'm like, what? She said, well, all the business you've done, that's what you get. Congratulations. And I'm like, what? Because you're at a new company, you don't know how to work the numbers out. You're just happy to be doing something, yeah? And I had £28,000 paid into my bank account. And I'd never seen money like that in my life, like ever. It was huge, like huge. And I just sat there going, oh my God, what do I do? And so I bought a first class ticket. I'd never flown first class before. I'd never flown business class. I hadn't flown any class before apart from economy. And I bought a first class ticket with British Airways and I flew back to London.
Like a king.
Like a king. And I partied for the weekend with my friends. There was a restaurant called Quaglino's, which was this restaurant in London that was kind of cool and hip for young people. And I took all my friends to Quaglino's. We partied, drank champagne, and then I flew back and blew most of it.
So you know how to make money, you know how to spend money.
But that was my kind of like that. I just arrived, I just become somebody in the world of something, and I meant something. It's like I wasn't. I was still nobody, but in my little mind, it was a proud moment for me.
Well, I can imagine that, and it sounds like you really learned from the right people, the right way, and you were able to put yourself through that shit. I mean, getting rejected 100 times is not easy, but you went with it. And then picking up the phone.
They used to remember the phone would be plugged into the wall.
Yeah.
And it'd have a cord on it. Well, they used to for the guys that were scared to pick up the phone, they used to, like with a marker pen, draw teeth on it.
What?
The phone's going to bite you. Why are you so scared of the phone? It's going to bite you. Oh my God, it's going to bite me.
So you learn in a shock way.
It doesn't bite you. It's a piece of plastic. What's the worst thing somebody can say?
Right.
F off. That's the kind of worst thing you'd hear. No. Oh no. And then I'd go back to what my boss said. How arrogant are you to think that everyone's going to say yes? Who do you think you are? And it really resonated with me. I mean, of course, how could I be that arrogant to think people would all say yes? He said, most people are going to say no.
So you learned being comfortable with no, which is a massive superpower. we've talked for so long and we're only you're 23 years old, you're just learning to sell and you're just starting to build your empire, right? Now, there's a lot of things people don't know about you. And one of the things is that born and raised in England, but you've lived in a million different countries, haven't you? How many countries have you lived in and how did that happen?
Well, the first country I'd gone to, I suppose, to spend any time in was when I lived with my dad in Nigeria. So that was the first place I was as a kid. So let's park that one and say that doesn't count because I was as a kid at the time. I started in Hong Kong, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, and then I moved to Nigeria. I then moved from Nigeria to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Sao Paulo, Brazil, I moved to Cairo. Cairo, I moved to Milan. Milan, I moved to Bratislava, Slovakia. Bratislava, Slovakia, I moved to Amsterdam. Then 4 years in Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to Dubai. That was in 2005 I came to Dubai.
So that's more than 10 countries.
It is 10
There
countries.
was Brazil somewhere as well.
Yeah,
huh?
so Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Say
Yeah.
that. So you've lived in 10 different countries.
Mm.
There's not many people who can say that. And not like 5 minutes, right? Like properly.
Yeah, I lived in those places, yeah.
Which country do you love the most?
Brazil.
Why?
Always. Because I learned very quickly that Brazilians laugh at the same things as British people. We laugh at the misfortune of others. And so we're rather sarcastic. And I was watching TV in Brazil, and it was just the Xuxa and Faustão, the TV kind of like magazine shows. And they were laughing at the same things I was laughing at. And so I'm like, okay. And then I realized that Brazilians just have a much lighter way of looking at life than we do in the West. And because of that, they just seem to be happier. And people said to me, Brazil's dangerous, da 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 da. It wasn't for me. It was great. It was so much fun. Brazilians were good fun. Brazilians have weird things they used to do. All Brazilian men and women have a wash bag in their drawer at work where they go after they eat their lunch and they go and clean their teeth.
Okay.
Okay. Now that may seem, but I don't know many places where that happens. Okay. But in Brazil, everybody, goes and washes up after they finish their lunch. I always thought it was really weird. Also, when Brazilians greet you, they don't just shake you by their hand. They shake you by the hand and they tap you on the shoulder or on the top of the arm.
Okay.
It was 2 points of contact. Okay, and it's not shaking of the hand and touching with the other one. It was shaking of the hand and then patting of the arm. And I always liked that, There was just something about that made me feel, I felt like I belonged in Brazil
Welcome.
while I was there. Yeah, welcome, yeah.
Nice. That's beautiful.
Mm.
So you lived in all these different countries and then you decided to make Dubai your home 2 decades ago, right?
Yeah, 21 years ago next month.
Why Dubai?
No, for no other reason than any of the other places.
And what made you stay here for so long then?
I think because it was easy.
Tell me about life in Dubai, the way you see it. I mean, you're super positive about it. You've shared this on social media. What is it about Dubai that you love?
It's just an easy place to live. When I was traveling a lot, it was easy to get in and out of. You feel very welcome here. People's, back 20 years ago, we'd say, oh, there's some strange rules and it's rather oppressive. But it wasn't. It was just like, here's our rules, take them or leave them, which I really liked. It's kind of like you knew where you stood. Whereas in other countries, it could be kind of ambiguous. And so, and this place had this kind of like something going on here. This place is on the up and up. You felt this. And even in 2008, when it collapsed and all fell apart and quietened down, it still didn't really feel to me like it was going backwards. It just felt like house prices were going down. But it still felt like there was opportunity and it was fun. And it was, I don't think the tax-free thing, because I've lived in so many countries, the tax-free thing really was a driver for me, like it would be for others. But everything was possible. And everyone here was trying to become somebody. And because everyone's trying to become somebody, you're in an environment with other people that want to be somebody rather than people sat at home complaining about this and that. I like that nobody's unemployed. Or if you are, you can leave. I like that. I don't like people sitting around doing nothing and blaming the system or society or politicians or whatever it may be for the reason they can't get a job.
What about now? Dubai 2026. It's very full. The whole world has discovered it.
That's the problem. Is now it's got really busy, I mean now it's not a place I'll live forever. But before it got busy, it probably would have been. But I came here where there was 1.6 million people. There's 4 million people in Dubai now. And okay, it's spread out, but I get stuck in traffic jams leaving my house.
Yeah. Are you already thinking about life after Dubai?
Yeah, I think about life after Dubai. My wife and I think about 2 different lives, though.
Oops. You need to find a common ground there if you want
Yeah,
to stay
yeah.
together. All right. I have another question. Another thing almost nobody knows about you. Because, again, on social media, it's a successful entrepreneur that teaches others as well, right? You're a mentor, you're a teacher, you're a trainer. But you also help a lot of people behind the scenes that nobody knows about, be it charity, different countries, people with poverty, people with special needs. You don't really share about that. Why not?
Because I don't want to draw attention to it for the wrong reasons. I don't want to.
Why do you
I don't
help
want to
them?
be seen as doing that for I see people to take a guy, there'll be a homeless guy on the street, and you'll see a video on YouTube of a guy picking the homeless guy up and taking him, getting him a shave and getting his hair cut and getting him some clothes and, getting him ready for his opportunities in the world. And they film it all, and that makes me feel like it's a bit staged.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. If you want to help people, George Michael's the person I admire the most for this. George Michael gave away, I think the number was something like £50 million over the course of his life to charities that nobody ever knew that was him. And he wouldn't give it unless it was allowed to be anonymous.
Mm.
But when he died, it came out. And he did it because it was the right thing to do. And I think that I get involved in what I'm involved with the Maria, the girls, and Hannah and Nepal and stuff, because I feel their pain and I want to try and help. I don't need publicity for that, and I don't need anyone's approval or respect or admiration for that. I just want to help, because when I help secretly, I'm the one that's benefiting the most.
Okay, so today you're on my podcast, and I would like to know, can you tell me more about who you're helping, how you're helping, what you're doing?
Today on your podcast, that's so funny. And today you're on my podcast. Maria Conceição is somebody, probably the person I support the most. Maria has been here in Dubai for 20 odd years. She has an incredible story, which we both know. And her story is one of pain and suffering herself, and then experiencing pain and suffering and wanting to stop it. And her going on to use sport and adventure as a way of breaking Guinness World Records so she could raise money for charity and bring these children out of the slums of Bangladesh and bring them into the UAE so they can get an education. And I met Maria once at a talk, and she really impacted me. And then I met 12 of Maria's girls one Sunday afternoon.
So just for the listeners who don't know Maria yet, she is helping support 600
You want me to tell the story?
children. No, it's okay. I'm just going to say this quickly,
Okay.
and then we go back to you. So this is a woman who's helping 600 children from the poverty of Bangladesh to get them educated in the UAE and abroad, England, Portugal, you name it. And she's doing everything she can to make them go to school. What are you doing exactly to help those girls? And boys as well.
Well, there's financial support that's given, emotional support that's given.
You go hiking with them.
Yeah. I mean, we spend time together. That's any time I spend with them is magical. They've been coming to the gym this week, and hanging out with me at 5 o'clock in the morning. So the girls showed up at 5 a.m.
They're so brave, right? I organized the ice bath party in my garden, and they came and they actually sat in the ice the longest.
Yeah,
They were 12 and 14. Incredible.
Really powerful. So yeah, ice bath. So what do? We go for lunch every couple of weeks. Yeah, it's kind of like a little Sunday thing we do together. It's not always anywhere fancy, but we just go and spend time with each other. And I need them because they're a great medicine for me. And so people think I do a lot for them, but they do a lot for me. And
what do they do for you?
They allow me to be grateful. They allow me to remind myself to be grateful. And I don't know if I ever told you what Chadney said one day. I was sat with Chad. So one of Maria's kids is Chadney, who you've met, and she's now at university in the UK. But she was sat with me. I can't remember how long ago it was, and I was a little bit distant. There was something on my mind, and Chadney literally came and sat next to me, and she said, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I'm okay, darling." "Are you sure?" I said, "I'm just having a bit of a tough day. I've got a few challenges." And Chadney just looked at me, and she didn't. We were sat on this step. And she looked down and she goes, "Can you imagine your worst ever day?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, for sure." She said, "I don't think I'm able yet to imagine a day as good as that."
Oof. What did that do to you?
Well, I just was incredibly humbled by it and moved by it.
It's like a clap in your face you need sometimes, right?
Yeah, and she's what that child or a young lady, is becoming is just sensational. I mean, I've spent time with her in London recently, just sensational. And so, yeah, it's like moments like that remind me, all right, you need to be grateful. You've got to be grateful. And you have to find a way of tapping into a source that can enable that to happen. Because I think gratitude is something that is so cliche and blasé and talked about so loosely, which means it diminishes its power. And I really believe that if you can find a way to tap into being really grateful, it releases so much pain. And it deflects your thinking from darkness to light. Mm-hmm. And when your thinking goes from darkness to light, it gives you optimism, hope, ambition, joy, my dad will say I'm a realist, and I'm like, "No, you're a pessimist." "No, I'm a realist." And I'm like, whether you're a realist or a pessimist, how is that even comparable to being an optimist? I said, if you have to live a life and you have to choose one of those, the only choice is optimism.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like the only choice has to be gratitude. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you are in life. It's that you can find things to be grateful for. You can be grateful for a rainbow. You can be grateful for a glass of wine. You can be grateful for a walk in the park. You can be grateful if you look for gratitude in it. And I don't mean insincere bollocks. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can find it. And the very best way to find it easily is go and spend time with people that couldn't even dream of having what you have. Because when you spend time with those people, you'll realize what you've got. And so it's so important. It's so important that's what those children taught me. They taught me to keep checking in with myself about being grateful, and to keep reminding myself that I'm lucky, and keep reminding myself that my situation's a good situation, not a bad situation. And whenever I'm with them, I'm as high as you can be, as a drug taker would be on their favorite choice of drug. Because I'm high on my gratitude. I feel like I'm doing something for somebody else rather than myself. I'm trying to help somebody else, and that just feels good.
That's beautiful. Do you feel the same way about your movie? Are we allowed to talk about your documentary?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. It's been a really tough thing for me, this documentary, because I made the documentary a few years ago, and the documentary is about three women, three heroes, three women that have done remarkable work, and Maria was one of them. And the whole reason the documentary started was because of Maria. Mm-hmm. And then we met Hannah, and then we met Lena, that all had arguably even more challenging stories to tell. And that's probably the proudest thing I've ever done. But And I've got to take some ownership of this as well. I've not done as well as I could have done to get that published. It's a world I don't come from. Mm-hmm. And so getting it published, and I didn't just want to put it on YouTube because I thought it should go somewhere else. But it tells the story of these three remarkable women and how
It's about human trafficking, isn't it?
how they, well, human trafficking and child slave labor. So in this village in Nepal, all of the children at the age of 8 years old become prostitutes. Every child.
At the age of what?
8.
Oh my goodness.
Forced.
Forced prostitution at 8.
And the local policeman, there's a plot of land on the edge of the forest. And this plot of land is where the baddie people live. And next to this plot of land is a main road. And this plot of land is probably 100 meters deep, probably 1 kilometer long. No, maybe a bit less than 1 kilometer long. It's like this rectangle piece of land. If you watch the documentary, the drone goes up and films it. Next to it's this road. And the only thing the kids have got in their pockets is a crappy mobile phone and an eyeliner and mascara. And the phone rings and they make themselves available. And Hannah Baddy was one of those kids. And she ran away. And she said, I can't do it. And she ran away. Her sister was abducted and taken off to what's known as the GB Road in Delhi, which is the biggest red light district area in the world, which is a whole nother story, which I'd love to tell. But Hannah ran away, thumbed a lift to Kathmandu. Kathmandu, for us, was a 2-hour flight from this village. And she hitchhiked as a 13-year-old to Kathmandu, which would have taken her days. She got to Kathmandu. She met a Catholic priest. He promised to help her if he could, but he had to go and preach in the Philippines. And so he flew to the Philippines. And while he was in the Philippines, he was diagnosed with throat cancer. And he said to God, if you help me get through this, I will help this child. And so he recovered from his throat cancer and he promised to help her. There now 680 children have been saved out of that village.
Oh, thank God.
All into school in Kathmandu, all into accommodation in Kathmandu, all living a new life, all by Hannah Baddy.
Wow.
And in India, Nepal and Pakistan and places like this, you have the caste system. And that caste system, she's the dust of life. Hannah is literally the dust of life. And she couldn't go into a school, couldn't go into a supermarket. No, you're a baddie. You're like scum. And while we were filming, the Prime Minister's office contacted us to find out what we were doing, and the Prime Minister met us, and then the President wanted to meet us, and we went with Hannah to meet the President, and never before has someone from that caste and this caste ever been in the same room, let alone what happened. And I'll save that for people that watch it, but one of the most remarkable things in history happened. It's never happened in that country before, ever. And it reshaped things, and it was just so remarkable to see.
What a story. Amazing.
And I've never been more moved than I was being there watching this in front of my eyes. I mean, yeah, there were cameras around and stuff like that, but literally I'm in this room with the president of the country and with Hannah, and this thing happened. Just incredible. And so
what's the name of the documentary? Where can people watch it?
So the documentary is not released.
Still
so you can't watch it anywhere at the moment. It can be released, but it's not released as it goes between different distributor discussions and the awards and all that kind of stuff. And the documentary is called The Chain.
The Chain. Powerful.
So yeah, so that's
hopefully that will come out soon.
Yeah, hopefully in the new year. Yeah.
In that
but we hope to make another one as well. There's another one in the plans.
Amazing. So you're doing all that work for other people.
You're
so successful in so many ways. You don't feel it. How is it to be in your mind and having those inner negotiations with yourself? Because you say there are glimpses of gratitude and feeling happy.
I find I have a deep sense of responsibility. So I've been in financial services, or was in financial services, for many, many years. I was never in control of whether the markets went up or went down. And if they went up, everyone was happy. And if they went down, obviously there were some people that weren't. I wasn't in control of that, but I felt it was my responsibility.
What the market was doing.
It was my responsibility to make them square. And so I've always lived with this. If anybody's in a situation, I couldn't bear for people to be in a position where they were out of pocket in some way and I wasn't able to fix that. And so I think a lot of my life has always been wrapped up in worrying about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know how the financial markets work. It's never always gone to plan, but it's always been something that's played on my mind. And so I think that gives me a lot of worry goes into places like that.
It's a heavy weight to carry. That's not necessarily yours to carry.
Yeah, but I do.
You have pain in your shoulders?
Always.
Weird, isn't it? So what's going on in the mind of Spencer Lodge? From the outside, you look always happy. You're always cheerful. You're successful according to society standards. Many people look at you thinking, oh my God, he made it. He's living the life. And yet in your mind, it sounds like this dark place that you always feel responsible and you have to get up so early and you have to do this and you have to do that. Like that, your inner bully sounds very, very loud. And then from time to time, you get a little break when you're doing something good for other people and you get this little tiny feeling of gratitude. And then you go back to, it sounds heavy.
You take every day as it comes and you do one day at a time. There's no point trying to deal with anything more.
If this bully would be listening to you now, instead of being so loud and shouting, and we would just shut him up and you would actually listen to the part of you that is suffering because of him, what would you want to tell him?
I have no idea. Because you're telling me there's a bully. I'm not telling you there is.
You don't feel him as a bully?
No, I don't feel there's a bully. No, I don't feel someone's bullying me.
It has become just your voice.
Mm.
Do you think that, what is the good thing that the bully is bringing? Thinking this way, this negativity, this heaviness. This,
What bully?
I have to do this, I have to
What
do
bully?
The bully that makes you wake up at 3:30 in the morning and makes you go to the gym.
These are negative. These are negative thoughts that come from somebody who needs to diminish the negativity as quick as he can so he can move into a space of positivity. We all have negative thoughts. We all talk negatively to ourselves.
As you saw, not everybody wakes up at 3:30 to go to the gym.
But okay, but someone might wake up at 7 o'clock to go to the gym to deal with it.
Spence, you're extremely hard on yourself and you're pretending like you're not, but you are. Where does that come from? And why do you do it? You don't have to.
I don't know where it comes from. It's probably been so long that it just is there, isn't it? It doesn't come from a place. It's just, it's
your normal.
Well, it's like saying, where does electricity come from? I don't know. We just have it. It's like, okay, well, then I just have it. It's like where it comes from. Maybe there's too many decades that have gone to try and find out.
And you deal with it the best you can.
Yeah, I just try and every day. I worry. I worry an awful lot. I spend a lot of time worrying.
I know, but at one point it got you to, and several times, that voice can become so loud that it pushes you to really, really dark places. I mean, you've shared with me there were moments where you're like, what is it all for? And who would ever miss me if I leave this planet?
Someone said something that was really powerful recently about that, because the suicidal thoughts are probably with me on a weekly basis. And so somebody said, if you kill yourself, you transfer all of your pain onto someone else or some other people. And because you're transferring all of your pain onto somebody else, can you see how horrible that situation is for somebody else to have to cope with your shit? And it really kind of made me sit there and think about it for the moment, because often I would think if I'd taken my own life, or if I took my own life, I removed me as the problem. And so I'm of no value, so I remove me as the problem. I'm insignificant. I'm in the way. I remove myself. But what I'm actually doing is I might not be here physically, but all of that pain I suffered will then just be put onto somebody else to cope with, or my wife and kids.
The people you love.
People I love, yeah.
So I think the person who told you that is somebody that probably knows you and knows that speaking to you that way goes again in that responsibility bag that you're already carrying of saying, oh, I don't want to create suffering for others, so I'll just stick it out then.
Really?
Do you think looking at it that way would prevent you from ever actually taking your life?
I don't know.
I've already told you, if you ever want to do it, you call me and we do it together. And I know you don't want me to die. I have heavy responsibilities as well in life. People depend on me.
Yeah.
So you can't do that to them.
There was a time in my life where I'm pretty sure I felt invincible, but there was always something. What's it all for? What's it all about? Type of questions I would ask myself along the way, or why. And if I look at relationships, for example, I'm not very good at dumping girls. Even from the age of like 12, I'm not very good at ending a relationship because I don't want someone to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd try and engineer it so somebody would leave me. And then, oh, you've left me, have you? Okay, friend. Okay, well, I'll
You can live with that easier.
let me gather myself. And okay, you must do what's right for you, type of thing. And then I'd get in my car and I'd be like, yes. But to sit down and have to look someone in the eye and say, I wish I was born in this generation. I could have just sent a WhatsApp.
You can send a WhatsApp now and you're still not doing it.
But yeah, so for me, never been one to want to put pain onto somebody else.
Can you see that, how you're putting pain on yourself?
Well, it might as well go to me rather than go to somebody else.
Why does it have to be pain anyways? What if there was a life possible without pain? When you're in that little moment of gratitude, there's no pain, is there?
No.
What if that could become your baseline?
What, gratitude all day, every day?
Happiness, freedom, joy.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realise I'd come to a coaching session.
Not a coaching session, but I keep telling you there is a better way.
Counselling with.
And there is.
Lousin. Yeah.
You can't deflect with me, you know that. You
Mm.
can't use humor. You can't change the subject. We will get back to it over and over again. That's the whole reason why you asked me to sit in this chair. Because you can't bullshit me.
I didn't think we were going here, though.
So I can ask any question I want.
Yes, you can.
That's what we do. Listen, how is it sitting on that side of the story, of the chair, of the table, of your own podcast? And now that you've been there for an hour and a half, I think, is there anything that you would change on your own podcast? Because I've sat there as a guest. You deliberately do not give any questions to anybody. It used to be called unscripted for a reason. You come and you go with the flow. You've sat there yourself now. Is there anything you would do differently for your own podcast?
No, because I think with my podcast, I'm trying to understand someone. I'm trying to understand why someone does what they do, and I'm just naturally curious to find out. I don't think about them saying something they don't want to say, because everyone has the right to say, stop, take a breather, can we edit that, or whatever it may be. They don't, but they have the right to. So I don't think I'll change anything, no.
You don't continue the way you do?
Well,
You said 380 episodes, right? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's insane. And you have had fantastic guests here. Like, you've interviewed people like Gary Vee and Tony Robbins and incredible famous people and athletes. And what I like about your podcast is you also interview people who don't have a following at all, but they just have an incredible story that is worth being shared.
No, my social media team don't like those people, but they're the best stories.
Yeah, so it's not about the fame, it's about the stories.
Yes, it's about sharing someone's story and getting the rest of the world, or my little audience, to see that there are some amazing people out there that are doing great things, or have been through some trauma and come out the other side with grace and hope. And because of that, you can too.
And you yourself, you have an amazing story to tell as well, as we heard today. And I'm really grateful that that's going out in the world. But you're not often on podcasts, are you? Well, you get invited all the time. So is it more comfortable for you to ask the questions or sit in that chair?
It's much easier to ask the questions.
Right?
Much easier. It's much easier. We've been, Alex and I have been working together for a few years. There's a team of people that care about the podcast, and so it makes it much easier to be able to be on that side, because again, it comes back to being in control and the outcome, and we want to try and produce great content for people. And yeah, you're making me feel super strange having to be the one person on the receiving end of that.
How do you feel about people finding out this side of you?
I think one thing that is the truth of me is that I'm an open book. I'm not trying to hide anything. If you don't ask me, then you won't find out. I don't have to volunteer everything. And maybe, we all think we've told the bits that no one's heard enough times to private groups of people, or in another way. Everything I'm telling you today, I don't think it isn't out there. And in some way, if people would take the time to investigate and learn, then maybe
It isn't. I have 6 pages here. I've Googled everything. I've asked ChatGPT everything. It's not there. It's not there. You might have shared it at birthday parties or
But
something.
you don't know everything about Joe Rogan, do you?
People don't know that. Tell me more.
You don't know everything about Joe Rogan, do you?
And we don't need to know. Today it's all about Mr. Spencer Lodge.
Yeah, and so I'm just a normal guy. There's lots of people that have done a lot better things than I've done, and a lot more powerful things than I've done, and made a lot more money than I've done, and all these kind of things. And so, yeah, there's nothing at all that I see that's special about me. Nothing at all.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the moment to end this without letting this man go on and tell even more bullshit. Nobody agrees with you, Spencer. Nobody. This is nonsense that you believe, and I hope somebody will help you see yourself differently, because you absolutely deserve way more praise than you're giving yourself. You deserve to be proud of yourself. You deserve to love yourself more. And you deserve to see who you truly are beyond what the bully is making you believe, although he has become such a familiar voice in your head. So I hope you will get the support you need to see you the way I see you. Thank you so much for answering these questions, unfiltered, unprepared, unscripted. Thank you for your bravery, and thank you for showing us who you truly are. Thank you.
Thank you, Lousin. I appreciate you.